class wealth and power, because we don't really have wealth that much with whatchamacallit. Like we don't even have a currency system. Like the only currency system we know that was originally had was the barter system that the Beastmen originally had. That they would just like trade like work and stuff like that. Like someone needed something, you'd just kind of, you know, community shit. Posted chapter 2 of the new old story. Already 15 views on that and 40 on chapter 1. Nice, Sean. Actually, so I was going through my videos and I found this and I thought it was fucking hilarious. So like 2 views, no views, 2 views, no views, no views, 8 views, 1 view, no views, 30 views, 20 views, 194 views. I don't know what the fuck the algorithm ate for this one, but apparently people liked this. That is the highest view count I've ever gotten on a video. That's insane. And it's just a random Let's Play part 6. Is because the fucking, it's because of the fucking thumbnail. That is so bait. I love it. So I know it works. And no views. Yeah, like no views. No, like 13 views on part 5. Like, but yeah, the D&D Grok got like a couple of views too. I still got to put up the second and third one for that. But it is what it is. I just thought that was funny. I was like, of all the things, it's just so random. You're in primed timing for Schedule 1, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But I uploaded them all at the same time, which was kind of weird. Why one of them would stick out. But anyways. So, we kind of have a class system, but we don't really have a power structure like a government or like a police system or anything like that. Like, we have a guard system, but we don't really have anything like that solidified yet. So,
comrades,
let's get into it.
For today, not only shall we throw off our chains, those chains of our oppressors, but today we're talking about world-building class structures in your fictional society. But class is a nebulous term, isn't it? What does it really mean? Sociologist Max Weber said that what we're really talking about here is the relationship between 3 things: wealth, power, and status. What he called the 3-component theory of stratification. Now, these 3 things do correlate and do cause one another. People with power tend to have status, and people with wealth tend to have power. But just because class structures aren't great doesn't mean that they can have no logic to them. Divergent. Damn it, I promised myself I'd resist. Point being, having an upper class in an Earth-like society with all the wealth, but none of the power, and none of the status is probably unrealistic world building. So when thinking about creating your fictional class structure, figuring out how wealth, power, and status relate is a great foundation. I am so excited because today we're going to be discussing all of these fascinating things. Timestamps are to the side, and of course, thank you to Patreon.
Alright, let's put down some notes for this. Alright, let's see how we do.
Patrons who make this sort of educational content, which is a little bit more niche, possible, and sustainable, thank you so much. If you want to join the Discord, which is full of writers and world builders, links are down below. Hope to see you there. Let's just jump into it. Part 1. Wealth, power, and status. In other words, whatever YouTubers don't have in society usually. Though they do tend to correlate, this doesn't mean that these 3 things always come together. Old noble classes these days in the UK or Japan.
Well, I think it's going to be important to see the extent to which the powerful seek to eradicate the class identity of the less powerful. would that fall into the category, Levi, of the Viceroy's concubine? The chick who's pushing him to basically, like over the last, like, forever, like 20 years or so, to push an agenda to bring the Beastmen to the same level as, like, insectoids and avians, basically. And bring them into the fold of society, as opposed to keeping them at an arm's reach. Because in this way, she is seeking to have, like, more power than the Viceroy himself by being the one who, like, establishes this idea. But it completely backfires against her, because absolutely no one wants anything to do with it, to the point where even the monarch is kind of like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're supposed to pay attention to the people. And the people don't want this shit. Because the class identity of the Beastmen is basically, like, animals. Hard to tell exactly. It seems like that would give the citizens more class identity rather than diminishing it. Well, it's changing the class identity and removing the base class identity. And the idea is, if the base class identity is Beastmen, and above that is Insectoids and Avians, if you move Beastmen up to Insectoids and Avians, then Beastmen, Insectoids, and Avians are all now the lowest class. And now Octopi are above all of them. And they can't look down on anyone because they're all in the same class. Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, has done what needed to be done for ages. Zelda is the main character while Link has to be rescued. But why, Sean? Why does Zelda have to be... Like, it had better be a... I mean, I guess it is kind of a puzzle game, but it's still like... Why? Why change the main hero? I don't understand that shit. Just make a new series with a female heroine. That's my thought on it. Or, like, prep it up and have a game where there's both of them. And it's, like, Link teaching Zelda. Because it's, like... Isn't the idea that Link's, like, special? So wouldn't making Zelda the main character kind of diminish Link as a, like, special chosen one type character? I don't know. I just don't think they put enough thought into this shit. But I could be wrong. The intent could be there to nebulize the cultural identity of the citizens, but it creates an identity of the citizenry as a people separate from their ruler. Yeah, and everyone considers the octopi above because the octopi are the only species that have the capability of asserting the highest levels of government and rule, such as the presidency, the vice president, the viceroy, the monarch, and every head of state of the government is all octopi. Only the, like, adjacent, like, governmental branches, like the crafting guild, the adventurers guild, like the playwrights guild or something, because I was thinking there has to be something to do with, like the entertainment aspect, right? Like, there has to be an entire governmental body to oversee, like, the bureaucracy of, like, monetization and stuff like that at this point. Because it's the Legend of Zelda, not the Legend of Link. Link keeps reincarnating as the hero, and Zelda keeps getting reincarnated as the princess to be captured and need rescuing. So letting Zelda do the rescuing is a nice change, while the puzzles and actions remain the same. I mean, that is kind of fair, Sean. I've always wondered, but it's like... Yeah, I guess so. I'm just like, it just diminishes Link as a character, I think. But that's just my opinion. But I'm not exactly deep into the lore of Zelda.
Japan may have status and wealth, but not a huge amount of power anymore.
Oh, what does it say? It's like the monarch and the viceroy, they have power, and status, but they don't have wealth. Because, like, they just... Like, it's... Their wealth is, like, the tree, the community. So they don't consider it their wealth. It's the public's, right? So whatever the public wants to do with it, basically like taxes. But they don't consider it their own personal wealth. So they have the status and power without the wealth. Whereas the, like, the concubines usually have wealth, status, and power. Because they come from extremely rich families that can afford to promote them and, you know, be in politics in general. They're finely bred because they're, you know, it isn't said, but it's basically like a basic standard, you know. And just like in normal life, like, how you look is actually, like, important. No matter what anyone says, more attractive people will get more votes overall, you know. Power is wealth under a different contextual framework. Yes. But I'm specifically talking wealth here as in ownership and bank value. And they don't own anything. And the bank is the public's. Whereas the concubines have their own family vaults plus their own vaults, right? And then, each head of state, usually they have the status and the wealth, but they don't have the power. And then everything kind of under there is like, it either has a status that goes with wealth or a power that goes with status. But there aren't that many people that have wealth, power, and status. At least that's like what I'm thinking, right? And then you look at like the Adventurers Guild with like the leaders of each of the individual guilds. Like they all have status as the leaders of their guilds, but they don't really have power. They're more there for a necessity of bureaucracy. They don't own anything per se, but have authority to exert control over the possessions of others, which makes them a sort of second owner. True, Levi. And in this case, in the point in the story, the Viceroy is kind of a rogue element. Actually, both Viceroys are. Like, the ex-Viceroy that stepped down, who's the father of the current Viceroy, who just got inaugurated. But they're both going against the Monarch. Because he wants to do what the people want to do, and the people obviously don't want anything to do with Beastmen. So we keep the Beastmen out of the city. That's why the Beastmen aren't in the tree, because the people don't want them to be in. It's as simple as fucking that. If you can change the people's mind inside the tree, and then, you know, over time, like, accept it, yes, then we can change everything. But for now, it's like, no.
Well, at least relative to what they used to have. If Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby explores how, though Gatsby acquires immense material wealth, he is never quite able to attain the same status as those born into money because that comes from your lineage. In William Nicholson's The Windsinger, power comes from academic achievement in their rigorously meritocratic society, but being a member of the upper class does not guarantee wealth, just an intellectual job. This is because status, wealth, and power do not necessarily come from the same place. What does your society culturally value, defining status,
entertainment,
materially value,
which is
defining
monetary.
wealth, and how do people exert political power? Answering these questions will characterize your characters from each class, what they wear, eat, their mannerisms, their job. It'll tell you what types of people are in each class, and we'll get more into this in our part on class culture. Historically, class structure has been predominantly organized by wealth, or the job you have. Interestingly enough, this could be intensified in fantasy or alien societies like the Protoss in StarCraft, where some individuals are born for a certain job in a way that humans just aren't. Edward, says here that you would like to be a masseuse. Yeah, not sure about that. You might be best to stick to that hairdresser class, yeah? Yeah? Just saying, this isn't a mark against you, but your class isn't really made for it with the whole snip snip. But your society could be different. It could be predominantly organized by status or by power instead. Ian M. Banks' The Culture series is based in a post-scarcity world where the economy is fully automated. Class is thus defined by status, how much people like you. While you normally expect farmers to be the lowest class in any
That's
sort
why
of
the
system,
barbarian
during
kingdoms
the
have a warrior king, but the dignified empire has a refined and eloquent old man.
I mean, fair enough, right? I could definitely see it. And it's like, with the way that adventurers are seen through most of the common people in the tree, it's a neutral stance, right? Like, they just want to get through their daily lives of just entertainment and mundaneness, whereas the adventurers are like, I need a thrill-seeking, death-defying experience to make me feel alive and real, right? And that's for like traditions. I'm thinking about like how the like culture of each class sits on top of the other, like, hierarchy, basically. Like, if you're, I don't know if it's like hobby driven. I have to think about that, because it could definitely be hobby driven, depending upon, like, your status in the tree is like a helpfulness kind of gauge, right? Like I was saying, like people kind of like, when there's not enough work and like whatever needs to be done, there's not enough people to do it, then the price you get paid for that work increases. And this kind of goes in like a union setting where people can artificially manipulate what the value of a certain job is, right? So you can get together and say, all right, no one show up tomorrow, and they'll pay us more the day after. But it's like, if you do the math out, you're actually losing, right? And it's not. It's like you.
How
can
does the
leave
absence of material poverty affect class perception?
intelligence, Levi. It's all about intelligence. So the main factor for the reason why it's split as octopi, avian, insectoid is because the upper end of intelligence is higher in those rankings. So like octopi are like 150, avians are like 130, and insectoids are like 110. So on average, there are less, like, let's say if like having over 90 IQ is like a class set bar. It's like 90, 110, and 130 would be like your main set class bars for like intelligence. Because this is like a society basically run off of entertainment, right? So it's like the more creative, the more like personable, the more almost risk-takey you are, the like more you thrive in that kind of environment, right? Because you're always trying to like push the boundaries of what the current norm is. So it's like You're people that go and see your average gladiator play versus the people that go and see like a play that's like enacting something like the inauguration.
Are there anti-idiot prejudices to compensate for the lack of anti-poor ones?
Yes, Levi, that's exactly where the hatred of the Beastmen comes from, because the Beastmen are like children. So their IQ highest is like 90, if that. But it's more of just the fact their brains can't truly comprehend, like, complex ideas. If everyone has the same physical wealth, then opinion matters most. If you become a famous hero, you'll have status. If you become a famous artist of any type, you'd have status, while those who just exist and entertain themselves would have neither power nor status. Exactly, Sean. Exactly. So it's like most of the people in the tree don't want they don't want more dumb people in the tree. And that if they bring the Beastmen in, it'd just be more dumb people in the tree. And it's like, oh, then I have to go to more of these. Then people would just want to put on more of these gladiator players instead of like the inauguration, like, you know, like murder mystery kind of thing. That's like more intellectual, more high end. It's not just like a sword fight and, you know, a hero. It's got depth to it. It's stuff that people can't follow, right? If they're not like basically like creative or intelligent enough, because it doesn't hit that spark in them, right? Doesn't allow it. They have no thought process to keep that going. But yeah, so intelligence is the main class split mechanic.
Japanese Edo period, they actually held a higher status than merchants, who were wealthier. This was because of a Neo-Confucianist philosophy that valued essential services like producing food over non-essential services.
Huh. No idea why I'm pausing on this. No idea how it could be possibly relevant to our current geopolitical and sociological circumstances.
Oh shit! Oh shit, Sean! Okay, here we go. Woo! Okay, here we go. Fuck! Fuck! Why do I double down? God damn it.
Wealth than merchant.
Oh, I know. Oh shit, guys, here we go. What's it gonna be? Wait, it's a multi-raffle? Why did it turn into a multi-raffle? Damn, Levi won them all. God damn, Levi. You didn't even waste all of your points!
The more important point here is that when designing a class structure, a single stratification pyramid rarely fully encompasses the complexities of wealth, power, and status.
True.
The economy, culture, and politics of society are...
I'm hoarding them, waiting for that 1 billion doxing.
And because of that, they're always a little out of sync with one another. It takes time for them to influence one another. Consider how your economy, politics, or culture changing may mean that a class has less of one of these things than a supposedly lower class. Part 2. Social Mobility.
The American Dream.
My luck is holding. 3 times I've gambled all, and 3 times I've successfully lost all the points.
Yes, that's right. If you work hard, even you can die in a nicer coffin than a poor person.
Social mobility is how you acquire or lose wealth, status, or power, both together or separately to move through the classes. The Song Dynasty is a rare example.
Waiting for an event where I can spend them to cause funny things to happen, like a game has Twitch integration. I mean, fair enough, right? We're just fucking around because I can do this. Damn, Levi, that's a lot of fucking points.
Example in history of relative ease with which people could ascend the...
So the scales. The scales to climb. So we have intelligence is set. You can't move from that. Job, i.e., career. This is intelligence based, but it's like, example, someone who's a salesman becomes a crafter, or someone who is an let's say spotted to be talented actor by crowd, tradition. Intelligence has some elasticity, but with living conditions so good, everyone will be living pretty close to their peak. Exactly. So it's like, still says I have 33.1k channel points, which is different from the crystal shards. Yeah, there's like the ones that Twitch has, and then there's the ones that Stream Elements has, then there's the ones that Botrix has. They're all different. I don't know how to integrate them all. It's kind of dumb. I don't even know how to like where to use like the base like channel points from Twitch. Like I don't know how to get add-ons to allow that to happen. I just don't know where those are. So you can up like your intelligence is set, right? But your job isn't. So you can move up in scale on the career due to your job. Yeah, those are the ones I really want to zero. I mean, if you can tell me, Sean, how to set up something, or like send me a video of a guide to set up something to use those points, I'll do it right now. So the other way is through the government. This again is career based. Non-octopi in political stations. This I have no knowledge of. So I said find a YouTube video. I tried to look, but I couldn't find one either. I'm like, there's so many videos of just the randomest shit, but I can't find one for like why the chat does that notification now. You'd think after like what, it's been like 3 weeks, maybe a month since this shit has happened? Maybe less actually? I don't know. Time all splits together. And then adventurer. You can become an adventurer and leave the tree. But you can also attach to this adventurer is you can come back. A veteran or abandoned or expelled. That's a way to go down the tier, right? Okay.
The classes through an imperial.
So I think we've got I think we've got like a solid start here.
Exam. As Painty Ho writes, the second basic concept of Confucian philosophy is that the feudal order could not be salvaged unless it was based on the principle that the wise, able, and virtuous should rule. The competitive civil service examination system became a permanent channel for the recruitment of members of the ruling class. Though rare for middle or lower class people to ever get the opportunity in the first place, it still happened occasionally.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier for people to acquire...
Like someone who has a great grand idea or something like that can change something. Like the guys who came up with the idea of the Adventurers Guild and leaving the tree. Because they created an entirely new aspect of life because of that. Same with like the first playwrights and the first dancers and the first songwriters and stuff like that. Like all of the entertainment district ideas, all the grand origins of that were most of them just the common folk being recognized. It had nothing to do with them having any kind of lineage. Because in all, no matter where you are in the tree, no one has a special lineage other than the monarch and the viceroy. And their initial heirs never... secondary heirs never mate. So after, like, 2 generations, they don't have any more of that bloodline. So are you going into the trigger file when you set up commands? I assume that's the case. Wait, trigger file? This is what I do when I'm setting up commands. But you mean like on Twitch. So like where would that like channel? Power-ups and channel points. Customize display. Oh shit! So you log into Twitch to trigger files where you set up commands for Twitch channel points. That's what the video I started watching said. But what's this? Channels with custom rewards have up to double the point redemption rate compared to channels without them. Create custom reward. Am I gonna get in trouble for this? Fuck. Okay, let's not do that. Let's just not do that. Let's just go a wellness check. And let's go here. Let's go well. Let's go here. Reward icon.
I am instituting a new class system where the people who have the most channel points are the elite.
I don't think it fits. I don't know how this is supposed to work.
Figure it out off stream mayhaps?
Nope, can't open that either. Yeah. I'm just gonna create it so you can do it. And see what happens. So I don't know how you use it. Or what it's gonna do. Message effects? I don't know what any of this is. So, in which case, Talk adds 7 million points to himself and removes that class system. Redeemed. Jack could simply say, get your mind right, which you'd interpret as take a toke. True. So if I go here, it says I have infinite channel points. So how do I activate? There it is. Well, that was helpful. It didn't do anything. What's this? Oh, that's just subscriber chat. There's no capital. Oh, is that why? Did I put a capital? No, it doesn't matter for that. It's for this one it matters. It'll do something, you add functionality. I don't know. I didn't know I had to do it within Twitch itself, though. I mean, if you want to dump your points, at least it's there now.
Status and power through academic excellence, though wealth was still very difficult to acquire. What we're seeing is what I described, discrepancies in the classes of wealth, power, and status because society was changing and evolving, and they were being distributed differently to how they were before. Maybe instead of academic excellence in your fictional society...
Why didn't that work? But it what? Well, you don't have enough points. I don't think you have enough points, Sean. I don't think I do either. Yeah, see, I don't have enough points either. No, I'm pretty sure if I do this... Now I do it? Whoops.
Do not drink
Yeah,
water.
you
Do
never
not
have
leave your
points.
seat. Do not move your feet. Do not stretch. Do not go to the bathroom. Have another toke.
True. So your job, your intelligence, and your perception in society are your like 3 determining factors of like class mobility.
You might value great military feats, or maybe they've been long under a quarantine because of a worldwide plague, so they value bakers, like we do now, and will forever in the future. In a fantastical society, it's incredibly common for magic to grant one social mobility. The Last Airbender indicates that firebending allows even peasants to acquire power and status as they fulfill more specialized jobs, especially if they support the war effort in this very militarized society.
See, the people don't get it. The Fire Nation was clearly progressive.
Hashtag women can be war criminals too. If you are wanting to have a peasant be allowed to speak to lords and kings, which never happened, mind you, then magic is one way that writers do this. But economically, perhaps the most important factor is education. How much they get,
None.
and if different classes
None.
get different educations.
None.
Dorling writes in Class Segregation of how incredibly important
Education
this
is kind of
Class differences in the UK are almost 100 times higher.
There's no standardized education system. It's kind of like people are just taught like through an apprentice system, right? Someone knows how to do it, someone watches them, read a book. What the fuck? Raymond Dow! We were talking about you yesterday, bro. Wondering where you were at. Bro, welcome back. How's it going? What I searched on the tube was, how do you use Twitch main channel points? I'll have to look into that, Sean. But yeah, education is definitely 100% done in no standardized way and is done through apprenticeship. And that is also one of the main reasons for the idea of like the squirehood to the like journeyman to adventurer. Callie is brainstorming. Hell yeah, Callie, keep it up. Oh, you can do _T to see what your writing percentage is. Fun fact, in the US, education spending is basically no correlation with education outcomes. I could definitely see that, Levi. Damn. I mean, 74% is not too bad, Callie. Above average historical story. Now I'm trying to remember what the hell the other... Was it fantasy? No, we have genre, right? Okay, that one doesn't work. Dropped an idea into the think tank. A prince given cursed realm, demand ancient evil. Okay, what about sci-fi? Has dropped an idea into the think tank. Cyborg escapes derelict planet, threaten past warp lunar inspection. Ooh. That's insane. 12%, Raymond. I mean... It's not zero, right? It's not zero. You start off there. Next thing you know, you're at 112. Harem. You know what we get for that? I'm bringing it out right now. I don't care. I'm bringing it out right now.
444 is now following. Thank you for following Mav Scientist 444.
We're bringing it out right now, guys.
Hi, sweetie. Hatred was just telling me he used to Arch Commander Consummate and thinks he'd be a perfect match for us.
I'm not that interested. Are you smoking?
Who?
You.
Why?
What, why? Are you smoking?
If you
Maybe.
see it, you
When
see
did
it.
you start smoking?
1989-ish?
So you have been lying. It all makes sense. The filled ashtrays, the burning pine-scented hairspray.
3-pack a day voice?
Should I drop that? Actual illiterate moment mystery. No, I don't have the other one set yet, Sean. I've only done... I've only done the other one.
Than race differences, as 24 times as 2,500%. The class segregation involved in access to higher education is huge.
I see either a brain, a tree, or... Okay, you want to know what it is? I'll show you what it is. Oh my god.
The technology
Sorry,
of the Industrial
guys.
Revolution may have created economic opportunity for a rising middle class by freeing up their time and allowing them to
Where should I?
But It was the new education system that
It's
really
dots and colons!
widespread
I wanna
education
see what
worked
I
against
see.
the class
Say
divide by
what
increasing
I
literacy
see.
and numeracy rates and diversifying their job opportunities from...
Oh, hey, don't care. Yeah, we've got some job openings. You can go in factory number 1, no? Factory number 2, no? Oh, just for you, we've got a refining, yeah? Factory. Your pick.
Suddenly, lower, middle, and upper class children were learning some
Wrong,
similar
folks,
skills.
get your mind right. How does... So the adventurer title in and among itself, and among, like, I don't know how I'm gonna do the class system of adventurers, like, you know, the standard, like, bronze, silver, gold, you know, like, that kind of thing. Whatever the scale, whether it's, like, F to S tier, or double S tier, or whatever it is, you know.
In and among itself.
It is in and among itself. It is true. We see well with our own eyes what it is. But within that class structure of adventurer, that your deeds as an adventurer are the only thing that matter. It's not necessarily how powerful you are. Like, you could have some guy, like, for instance, like Zayd, who's, like, just runs around and does, like, random tasks for people. Like, that's kind of his, like, marketing and networking thing for when he wants to be a grand adventurer, is he's gonna start off small, right? And, like, just within the community itself, then he's gonna work his way out, and he has this whole idea of, like, building on this entire thing. And there's, like, this will all come up in his notes and everything later for, like, his ideas of what he wanted to do and his grand design of everything, right? Yo, Muffin, I saw you just went live. How's it
level
going?
tasks in Naruto.
Yeah, exactly. Like, running around, grabbing, you know, cats out of trees, doing deliveries for people, like, just all around, like, the shit that no one wants to do. And that's how you basically, like, build a reputation and build your merit structure, is, like, and, you know, like, your fame, essentially, is, like, doing menial tasks for people around the tree. And then you pass the exam, you're allowed to leave the tree, and then 90% of the time you fucking die. But, you know, for the people that don't, and they actually survive as adventurers, then their deeds outside the tree, you know, they can do the same thing. So you could have a really low-level adventurer who all he does is stays inside of Ifrit and just makes everyone's life in Ifrit great. And people love him, and he's a high-ranking adventurer, but he's not classed as, like, a combat adventurer, right? Like, for instance, like, Torg in the first chapter, he's not... True. I don't know why I'm streaming. There's just nothing else to do. Cute Muffin, that is a great reason to stream. Right? Just stream. There's, like, what's the reason to, like, there's no reason to not stream, so you might as well just stream. And eventually, you either decide that you like it, or you decide that you don't. But at least you'll have the experience, and you'll know for sure whether you like it or not, right? Just, like I always like to say, temper your expectations, right? Like, just try to do something that you would watch. Like, that's basically how I started. I was like, okay, well, what do I watch on YouTube? What do I watch streams for? And then I essentially tried to replace myself as what I'm watching, if you know what I mean. I'm like, oh, I like these things, like politics, story writing, sharing ideas, fucking around. I love doing this kind of shit. Stream and see if after some time you go, what the fuck, this fucking sucks, then stop. Yeah, my stream this morning was horrible, all 2.5 hours, 0 views. And I found something out that made half of my stream useless. That's okay, Muffin. You'll get used to it. My first, like, I streamed for, like, my first month on my old PC, and it was, like, lagging so bad, even playing Final Fantasy XI, that I just stopped until I got the Starforge PC. The main drawback of watching streaming is that you're in an audience. Yeah. Yeah. Callie has been told he has a good voice. Well, that's good, Callie. Hell yeah. People tell me my voice is annoying, and I totally understand. That's why sometimes you just gotta put a little bit of, you know, difference in there. Make them get a little bit of not knowing what you're going to do next. It is a very good time. We do not know how far we can push it, but we pretty much do what we want. You sound like you sound like just some guy it talks. I mean, that's literally what I'm just some random fucking idiot I am literally some random retarded idiot on the fucking internet. That's all I am. And that's what I try to treat this as. It's just a room for retards on the internet. I don't think your voice is annoying. Draw, not drawback. Being in an interactive audience allows discussion and dissing. The fun is more intense than just watching. Yeah, and that's what it's... Because, like I said, I'm a lurker. I don't engage in the audience at all. I watch the stream because... Or I watch the YouTube because I enjoy the content itself, right? The chat enhances my experience if the streamer is using the chat in a means, like Asmon does. It's not his voice that it's annoying, it's him that's annoying. See, Cute Muffin fucking understands. True, Cute Muffin. Kind of sound like Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. I've been told that before, Raymond Dow. I have been told that before. True. There's nothing quite like it. Wait, 37 dicks in a row? Makes it a bit hard to do a good stream if there's no audience. That was my first 6 months, though. You see, the thing is, it's hard, right? But once you get the hang of it, if you can make a good stream with no audience, just producing content in some way, like not just sitting there playing a game. Well, like in Muffin's case, he can sit there and play a game because he's getting, like you're getting like top world records, like you're amazing at chess. Like the actual content that you're doing is like what you're... Nice, Sean, let's do it. Let's do it. Woo-hoo-hoo! Woo, I feel it! I feel it, guys! Let's go! Oh, it had to cool down. I would have won. Now I'm gonna lose. Oh, we're going for 3! We're going for 3! We're going for 3! Oh my god, come on. Oh my god, here we go, guys. Are you ready? 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 Here we go, here we go, here we go. Yes! Fucking rush. That was a fucking rush, boys. Holy shit. Woo! Alright, I got lots of points now, guys. Okay. But yeah, so Adventurers Guild and how the Adventurers Guild dictates your things is not necessarily how powerful you are. It is more of a how much people like you. So you could have a character. This is what, like, one of the main points is you could have a character that's like Saitama, that is like over fucking powered as balls, but nobody knows about them. $36,000. All right, let's see. 49,000. Bitch gets slaughtered.
Lords and ladies were also learning to play horse polo and feint on demand. Educational opportunity, especially at primary and high school levels, closes the economic gap in a class system by making it easier to acquire wealth, status, and power. So, what skills are members of each class using?
7,000? That's almost max. Kelly got us both. Fucking destroyed us, bro. Wait, I just noticed something. There's no space between the question mark. Why didn't anyone say anything? There's no space between power level question mark and the person's name. I never noticed that before. Oh, I'm dumb. That's why. Here. So, there we go. In the stream chat, it doesn't look like there's no space. Okay, check it now. Yeah, see? Now there's a space between the question mark and my name. But it depends if your name, because this is what mine looks like. So before, it's like here. It's because of the length of the name. It got pushed off the chat. It's gone now. It's gone forever. But that's how I can tell. So if your name was short enough, it wouldn't show that. It wouldn't go to the next line down. Right? So, always good to have that.
Being taught, and how do these relate to acquiring those three things? But it's equally important to figure out which choices or attributes make social mobility harder. Historically, the most obvious ones are your sex, race, religion, those sort of things. The Umayyad Empire required
Definitely your
religious
race.
conversion if you were to acquire power in their society, and they levied taxes on those that didn't convert, making it harder to acquire wealth and run successful businesses. Ideas of racial hierarchy during the colonial period made it harder for some indigenous groups to attain status. Andrei Sapkowski's Witcher series is an interesting example of magic actually making you less socially mobile. It lowers your status as people see you as this monstrous other, a cruel outsider. So, consider which things in your world, both choices your characters make and their inherent attributes, make acquiring status, power, and wealth easier, especially education, and which
Race command chooses a random fantasy race that you must be. For what purpose, Sean? Like, what do you mean race you must be? Like, that's just the race that you are now? So it'd just be like explanation point race, and it's like, oh, you're an insectoid. Oh man, I got troll. I mean, that's a good idea. I'm just gonna call it. Nah. Fuck it. I don't care. I don't care. I'm just doing it. Okay. Where is a thing I can copy? Alright, guys. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? Supposed to cover your arse, it would be fantasy race. I just put it as race. I didn't give a fuck. I was like, should I do species? No, it's just race. Oh, nice. I'm an avian. Fuck yeah. Oh, shit. I forgot to put the actual text in. Okay, just let me make sure this is right. Wait, where the fuck? Oh no, did I not save it? Fuck. God damn it. I'm an idiot. Let's hope I can get the wording down again. That was fucking perfect. I had the perfect sentence. Fuck. Wait, what? I'm so confused now. Okay, that's the old one. Why is it not showing that, though? Okay, there. It should work now. By the power of some mysterious world, intoxication has... God damn it. I can't even spell fucking right. Has. Of course I'm an octopi. I can't get away from tentacle monsters no matter what I do, guys. What were you before, Callie? Someone's gotta hit it. Everyone keep doing it until we hit the one. And when we find the one, you will know it is the one. Sean's a goblin. I ate the human fruit. Someone's gonna hit it. Someone's gonna hit it, okay? Come on, guys. Everyone do it. Someone's got to make the sacrifice for everyone else. Nice, you turned into a Moogle. Oh, wow, we got 2 Moogles! Moogle is a Final Fantasy race. What the fuck? We're all Moogles! The Insectons are in our way. No, they're our way in. Everyone's a Moogling. We're Moogling. Okay, again, everyone go. We still haven't hit it. What is this RNGesus? How do we keep hitting the same ones? You changed it to the same thing. How did I get Insectoid again? Man, this is ridiculous. This is it's a global cooldown of like 5 seconds. Try again now. We'll eventually hit it. I swear to God, guys, we'll hit it, and you guys will. It'll be magnificent. It'll be truly fucking magnificent. God damn it. Why can't it just work? True, Sean. I mean, the Kate Sith is close enough, if you know what I mean. But still. What the hell? Another Moogle? There's like 15 different things! Why is it all the same? What is this? Okay, well, there's the Kangaroo Man. But that's just one of them. That's not the main one. Oh my god. What is this RNG? I have the worst RNG possible. What the fuck? Come on. This time for sure, guys. This time for sure, someone will save us. I'm bouncing, because bouncing's what Kangas do best. We'll eventually hit it, guys. We have to eventually hit it. I didn't think it would take this long. I didn't think we would get this many duplicates. But this is pretty ridiculous. Okay, we've almost hit every single one of them. Come on. At this point, I'm just gonna add a Meeseeks in there. Turn into... I guess I'm very goblin-esque tonight. It's a compliment, Sean. Goblins are truly... Why do you hate me so? Well, I mean, I am what I am, right? You can't be one too long, but that's still not it. That's still not it. There's still one to go, guys. There's still the one to go that we haven't hit yet. That's the most important. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. The Catman calls. I'm a gobbler. Gobble these nuts! Alright, well, you're the Trona. I don't know why Kangaroo Man makes me think of the movie Warriors of Virtue. Oh my god, what is this? I can't believe this. Now we have to keep going until we get it. But the longer it goes, the less, like, impact it's gonna be when it finally happens. There we go. Finally. Finally. By the way, that's a cat girl. I think this is a good picture. Of course, it's not going to give me the picture. The Mithra. The Mithra Ranger. Now I got the tentacles. At least they're more useful than testes I had already. But yeah, that's your ultimate cat girl, guys.
Things make acquiring them harder.
But
Nobody
you see,
hit a
the concept of
Tonberry, though.
social
We still
mobility
haven't hit
is
a Tonberry.
complicated by a certain type of class system. Let's talk about that.
Part 3. Caste systems. These are slightly different to class systems in that while certain castes will still usually have more or less power, status, and wealth, which caste you are in is usually overtly determined by things
Now that bugs me. True, Sean. True.
you cannot control, where you were born, such as the Japanese Burakuman, or your family in the Indian caste system, which influences the jobs you can
Your
usually have. In Brandon
race?
Sanderson's Stormlight archives, society is divided into people with light eyes and dark eyes. This means social mobility is incredibly difficult. You can change your eye color only through acquiring a magical item called Shard Plate, which is nearly impossible. Caste systems also sometimes have a class of moral untouchables, people who are entirely socially immobile, who are morally degenerate or to be cast out. They aren't suited, like we should have for people who...
It's not quite like that, but they are separated. It's the kind of idea of, like, PDA. So the people that are, like, super into, like, sex and shit like that, like, they have their own entire branch of the tree, basically, for, like, those kinds of people. Tonberry! There we go. You finally got it, Sean. I believe that's every single one of them. So it's, like, in a caste system, it's kind of, like, separated by, like, you have the audience that enjoys entertainment. You have the people that create the entertainment for that audience. You have the people that are, how do you say this, like, not intelligent enough to move around in the system, right? They just don't understand it, because it's one of those things where the higher your intelligence, the easier it is to understand how to move through the system, right? It's like the hurdles along the way. And you have to keep getting over those hurdles. And in this system, most of the people that have something akin to, like, intellectual property, would have a higher, like, caste status, right? So, like, for like, now, not before, but now, the people that catalog things and write things down is kind of a big thing too. And it's kind of like, again, it's like school isn't, and like education, sorry, isn't like a all-around centralized thing. It's just, oh, if you want to learn how to write, go find somebody who writes and they'll teach you how to write. If you want to know how to read, right? It's kind of like that, where it's like everyone just kind of helps everyone out because there's no real need. It's just, what do you want to do, right? And there's enough people that it's not too much of a problem to try and find someone who will help you with something. You have multiple apprentices at the same time. You can even have like subsidiaries for the government for people, and have like an entire thing like that where it is kind of an educational system, but it's provided by the government, but it's not oversighted by the government, right? It just facilitates the need of, as opposed to overseeing the structure. Smoke jumping to another world. How's that for concept title? I like it, Sean. I like it. Is there anything else? We have like audience entertainment. Oh, like for crafting and stuff like that too, right? Like if you're like specifically for crafting things for like the higher echelon of society, like crafting grand goblets and plates and like basically housewares and shit like that, not like jewelry and stuff like that. So you're more of like an artist than you are a crafter in that sense. So there's like a caste in and among that of like crafters, of like artistry, the actual crafting of the product and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different areas where we can build the caste system from.
Who prefer dogs to cats. It's for this reason that caste systems are often used in dystopian or grimdark stories.
And that's where it's like, I want pets, but I don't think it's going to be a reality. I think chocobos are going to be the closest thing. Dense patch of smoke blinds the main character, and when they get through it, they're no longer over the forest fire, but a volcano from which they would get blown by strong winds to land safely. Interesting, Sean.
It's like Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World, which divides people into alphas, betas, gammas, deltas, and epsilons along the lines of genetic superiority. It's an easy way to signal to the reader what's wrong with the world, why is it terrible, and it sets up narrative goals for an underdog character, who is usually the protagonist. However, fictional species provide a unique opportunity for caste system societies. They may work differently to humans, with biological factors or abilities that really do segregate society more rigidly without needing to be oppressive. You can see this a lot in ant-like species with a queen, warrior, and worker class structure, like in Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game. In Nier Automata by Yoko Taro, android society is divided by function. You are either created as a scanner, a fighter, an operator, or a commander. This is a caste system of sorts, not one we typically recognize, but it's not necessarily oppressive. It's more of a horizontal class system.
Actually, yeah, that's kind of an interesting idea for the Adventurers Guild, to have, like, the idea of, like, you know, you've got, like, the shot caller, you've got your frontliners, you've got your tank, you've got your scouts, you've got your supports, you've got your healers. So you could have, like, the caste system of adventurers is split by the primary job, right? But then you intermingle within those because you need one of each, right? So it is, again, like a horizontal type caste system, but it works. Ursula from our game is a prime example of genetics being naturally more useful than other races. The Dwarven Giant? Or, no, never mind. The Octopus Girl. The Octopus Girl. Yeah.
System instead of a vertical pyramid of sorts.
Shark
but
Girl with
I want to
tentacle
point
hair
out
and
that class systems
squidding.
and caste systems may not be as separate as you might think. In a sense, there was a caste system explored in The Great Gatsby. You have to be born into wealth, something you can't change. In 1984, scholar Dr. Abraham Thomas compared the racially segregated United States to the Indian caste system. Once divested of its exotic names, the caste system is nothing more or less than any system of social inequality involving changing patterns of domination, exploitation, and rebellion. I would submit the traditional race relations between blacks and whites in the US are strikingly similar, wherein state and national political structures in both countries are overwhelmingly controlled by the dominant group, the whites in the USA and the upper castes in India. Importantly though, and this is something that stories that want to use a caste system sometimes miss, caste systems bring with them a stronger philosophical or moral belief about why people should be divided the way they are, in a way that normal
And that's
caste
why there's the huge clash inside of the tree, because no one can agree on a total majority way to divide people. Because some people want to be divided by race, some people want to be divided by intelligence, some people want to be divided by merit, some people want to be divided by status, some people want to be divided by wealth. Most people want to be divided by whatever puts them at the top of the pyramid. And that causes a lot of clash in an area where you basically have all the time in the world to do whatever you want. I never really thought about it, but how would Ursula have emitted her ink? Spitting, maybe? Something in their tentacles? Remember, Sean, one of the tentacles is the genitalia. It is also the ink sac. Easy solve there. Just replace those. It's the inks. One of the tentacles is an ink sac sprayer. Not all of them, just one of them specifically. Then that gives a little bit of a weakness. Hop has some good answers for how class structure should operate. Yeah, I like the idea of should. That's why I'm like, at first, one of the structures for the book was how I think the structure of society should be. And then it kind of molded into this other thing because of how people interacted with that structure and how it's molded over the years. And that includes, like, creating the Adventurers Guild. Because that wouldn't be an original piece of it, right? It was just when the monarch comes out of the dome after pulling the moon out of the sky, he says, okay, well, how does everyone want to live? Let's just do that. So I was thinking of the idea of, at the beginning, it's like, the tree is so big and you can kind of do whatever you want with it. So he's like, people that disagree just go to different places. And then it creates this complete segregation of society. And then everything kind of conglomerates back together once society grows past, like, 1 million people, right? Because it's like, now things are super interwoven as opposed to being completely separate from each other, right? And it allows more crossover of idea and thinking. And it's like, over time, people are getting less and less divided. Even though it seems socially that people are getting more divided. Actually, people who disagree, segregating is pretty close to what Hop proposes. Yeah, like think about this, Levi. What do you guys think the United States would look like if there wasn't, if the federal government didn't operate on politics? If the federal government just had an overall mandate of, like, military and cross-state. So if you went, like, across state lines, it would get the federal government involved, and that would go to, like, federal court kind of idea. And, like, but everything else could be handled within the state. And the federal government would be there to facilitate a complete, whatchamacallit, like, standardization of, like, bureaucracy. So the federal government would be there for the bureaucratic reason, whereas the state governments would be there for, like, the political reason. So if you are either a red or a blue state, it wouldn't matter what the entirety of the U.S. was, as long as you lived in the colored state that you wanted, right? Do you guys think that would be a better approach overall, just hypothetically? Or is there more that the federal government facilitates that wouldn't allow for? Because I want to kind of treat, like, the politics in the tree and the tree citizens of the tree themselves are kind of like that political pole, whereas the Adventurers Guild is like the complete opposite of that, where it's like nothing is really political, it's all in, like, a bureaucratic status state, right? It's all about what's on, basically the deeds done on paper, not word of mouth through what you say, which is, like, the difference between the politics and, like, action, which is adventure, because adventure is action. Personally, I'm in favor of governmental structures being more divided rather than less, so diminishing the power of the federal government sounds good to me. Yeah, and then just have them involved when it's, like, going across state lines, and you only use the federal government as a mediator to see, like, what the change of laws between those states, like, equate to, right? So it would be more of an overseer moderator than it would actually be, like, its own individual set, right? And then you could have precedents and case law set on federal rulings, essentially. And that would keep people from going across state lines and committing crimes, and then, you know, it's a crime in this state, but it's not a crime in that state. Well, it's like, are you from this state, so it's a crime there? That's another thing, is, like, the idea that the area that you're from dictates the, like, laws that you have. Like, I really want to push, like, a kind of ideology. I know it's a terrible ideology, I just love the idea of it, right? As, like, a complete negative for dystopian reasons. It's like the fanatical side, right? So that's where the fanatics in the book kind of get their origins in reality from.
Don't usually. This is especially the case for any untouchable class. These are often based on historical events and relations between groups in society.
And the only untouchable class is the monarch, the viceroy, and their direct descendants, and then their grandchildren. They can pretty much do whatever they want. So I am thinking of putting in those asshole motherfucking piece of shit characters as royalty, right? The area you're in should dictate the laws you're subject to. Place of origin is mere incident, and letting people move away from bad laws is a good way to discourage the passing of bad laws. True, Levi, agreed. The issue with that is if slavery were legalized in one state, then they went to another state to take slaves. Are they breaking the law? There are other acts just as harsh which could be just as bad. Exactly, Sean. That's why I said it's a terrible ideology to have, but it's an ideology that people have because they think their laws are superior, so they think that no matter where they go, their laws should apply. So I'm not advocating for this. I'm saying this is terrible, but I love the fact that it's terrible, so I want to write it into the book in a way, right? And that's how the fanatics are with the Adventurers Guild. They want to, like, press themselves onto the Adventurers Guild and say, just because you're from the Adventurers Guild, we don't think that you should be able to break the laws from inside the tree. And the Adventurer Guild is like, the reason we left the tree was to get away from the laws. And the monarch allowed that, so get your fucking ass out of here, right? But it is an interesting foundation that people could see from and be like, I understand their way of thinking because they think they're on the right side. So in that case, they would be subject to the idea of trying to discourage other laws by performing their own justice in another area. Americans already have that viewpoint. American Teen thought tagging was no big deal when in Japan. Didn't expect he'd get caned by a martial arts expert. Learned his lesson, though. Yeah, exactly, Sean. I agree with that. The leniency of what Americans believe is acceptable in society is not acceptable in, like, 90% of the world. And the only reason it's acceptable in America, even in Canada, is... Actually, it's not really in Canada because, like, we're not that big. We don't have a lot of people. There's not a lot of people to manage, right? And we're, like, despite the amount of territory we have, like, we are more concentrated than the States are. Considering the States has deserts and we have, like, 2. Barely a desert. Like, Alberta has a fucking desert, but that's about it. Maybe a bit of Saskatchewan has a desert. But other than that, like, we don't really have a desert. Whereas the U.S. has, like, significant deserts. Then Mexicans can and often do get married at age 15, then cross the border and get split up by immigration because of their kids. Exactly, Sean. There should be some universal law that is natural law, but it shouldn't be the case that some authority publishes laws that everyone has to follow regardless of jurisdiction. Yeah, I think that should be a big thing, like, the idea of, like, the federal government is no matter what the states decide, you can't do, like, fucking 10 Commandments idea, where it's, like, you know, just, like, the basic of the most base, don't fucking kill, don't lie, don't fucking steal, you know, that kind of shit. Like, the thing that basically everyone can agree to, because if you agree to these things at some point in time, you're going to become a victim of them. So advocating for them sounds stupid, right? But then you get to things that escalate to a point where it's like, oh, I would advocate for guns, but I wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of one. Right? It's like, it's not a... It's a willing suspension of the possibility that that could be used against you, but for the greater good, you would rather the ability for people to have it, even if that caused it to be used against you. Legally speaking, you're allowed to violate some of the 10 Commandments. Coveting shouldn't be illegal, for example. Yeah, but I just meant, like, in the concept of, like, the base. Like thou shalt not kill, steal, lie. You know? Those 3 things, basically. You know? The things that... Basically, anything that affects directly another person or their property. You can do whatever you want within your own personal bubble with your own property, but once you involve another living thing inside of your bubble, you have to respect that thing's bubble. The only federal law should be that nothing can be illegal unless it harms another person's business. Lies are generally not illegal, but if they defame others and harm them socially, legally, financially, it's illegal. Yeah, you're pointing at natural law here. Yeah, Sean, just like the idea of, like we were talking about with, like, Billy Mitchell suing Carl Jobst and winning because Carl said something that was extremely defamatory, and whether it's true or not, it was proven not to be true in court. So you can't say something like that without having a significant repercussion, right? You can infer it, but you can't directly say the reason why Dr. Disrespect sued this guy was so that he would kill himself so that Dr. Disrespect wouldn't have to fucking deal with him anymore. You can't fucking say that about someone, no matter how true you believe it to be, especially if it's been disproven in court. But even if it hasn't been, unless you're willing to go to court with that evidence, I wouldn't go near a statement like that. But yeah. The laws inside of the tree change drastically because of the opinions of the people in the tree and the conflict between them. So there could be areas in the tree that we could call PvP servers versus PvE servers. Where, you know, it's like, if you want to go have a good time and have like a drunken brawl with your buddies and have a bar fight and shit like that, like as long as you cut no one's head off, no one's gonna die, right? So it's like, there are areas that are like the idea of like the slums, where like ex-adventurer veterans go, where they love the thrill of the fight, but it's like fucking the Coliseum or some shit like that. I think that would be fucking awesome. And that's another form of entertainment, because it doesn't just have to be plays, dances, and songs and art and stuff like that. You can have all kinds of like fucking chocobo fights and shit like that. Like get really dark with it and have like illegal shit going on in the tree in some areas, right? Or like references to it in a way. Unless you say something like, it wouldn't surprise me if, and whatever statement, because you're not stating that it is true, only that you wouldn't be surprised to find out if it was true. Exactly, Sean. Your wording in cases of like anything to do with face, wording is the most important thing that they consider in court, because wording is intent, right? So are you spreading blatant lies about someone, or are you spreading your opinion about someone? And especially when it comes to something like, you know, someone killing themselves, that's pretty bad.
So consider how your society...
The only law should be all femboys are legally my property. I agree, Eggy. Then I would be yours and I wouldn't have to worry. But as your property, do you have to do do you have to take care of me? Like, as in, do you have to feed me? Like, is that part of the deal? Or, like, am I just, like, fucked? Because I would really appreciate it if you could just lock me in the dungeon and then you just feed me when I need it. I mean, what?
A blend of a class and caste system. What philosophy may underpin the way things are structured and who is in each group, whether overt or subtle.
And the upending of the caste system for the Beastmen kind of like gets abruptly shut down at the beginning. Femboy Stream Plantation. Yes, it's like, you know, the phone farms? But imagine every single one of those phones is a femboy streamer. And they're all in, like, a warehouse form, right? It's like 200, 300, 400 of them all set up together in, like, the same room. A guy in court asked what would happen if they said the judge was an idiot. The judge answered that he'd be in contempt. He then asked what happens if he thinks it. The judge answered, nothing, you're allowed to think whatever you want. He responded in that case, I think you're an idiot. That's hilarious, Sean. I mean, you're allowed to think whatever the fuck you want, man. And I'm sure judges have heard it all. You ain't watched till you watch Judge Judy, bro. Like, what the fuck kind of bullshit is this? Public court is fucked up, man. That's true, it happened. The judge couldn't do anything either. He's like, well, shit, I mean, if that's what you believe, man, cool story. I just try to convince the jury, I guess.
which historical events and relations those beliefs may be linked to. A list of choices and immutable characteristics contributing to social mobility and class may help define your system.
So, you've got an idea on where the wealth, power, status come from in your society and how they interrelate. Let's build on that.
Part 4. Class Culture. Classes have cultures within themselves. How they talk, what they wear, what they eat, what they do for fun. Let's not be delusional here, though. The most important factor is usually wealth. More wealthy classes will
AFK,
wear
go and
more
cook some
expensive
fish.
clothing,
Alright,
build
sounds
more
good,
elaborate
Sean.
places, eat more and more expensive and more nutritional things,
Yeah.
and do more expensive things,
Yeah.
like build giant arenas for poor children to fight to the death in.
That is mahogany.
This has basically been true all throughout history right up to today. This is why the Irish peasantry relied on the less nutritious potatoes and abundant herring fish, while its upper class had access to cultivated
More nutritional,
vegetables and
actually,
more
no.
expensive chicken. Silk was a mark of the imperial family.
Does it mean per consumption, or does it mean per, like, availability? Like, it was more nutritional in the fact of availability. Like, the idea of how rice is in, like, Asia. Almost like a function of a food that a civilization could not exist without. Like, if grain didn't exist, what would civilization look like without grain? If there was no type of plant you could turn into flour, essentially. They'd eat more expensive and often very sugary things, so in lots of places peasants ate much healthier. I believe that, Levi. For, like, the average, they probably ate much healthier. It's just they didn't, like, there were ones that couldn't afford to eat, right? So there is just the lower end of the spectrum. But probably on average, yeah, most of them would probably eat much healthier than, I saw a funny Greek word puzzle thing the other day. If your dog has a puppy, it becomes a father, and you own it, so it's yours. So, is it your father? I mean... yes, but not in that way. Right?
In China for a time as a rare and beautiful resource, and in Harry Potter, the upper class has the luxury of killing muggle-born children in their spare time. So in devising internal class culture, figure out what food, material, and pastimes would be even financially available to each class in your world. Two big factors in this question are geography and trade. What can be grown and what materials can be harvested in their environment. The wet lowlands and climate of China meant that rice was a more viable resource than wheat. The cold weather of Ireland meant potatoes could be grown where other vegetables couldn't usually survive, and were thus expensive. But geography also necessarily becomes a lot less important with globalized or even interplanetary trade that lowers costs and diversifies the materials and food available to every class. Consider to what degree free trade impacts what food and material is available to each class. But, even then...
It's the reason why food is even available in the first place inside of the tree, because I'm still thinking about this as a concept of having, like, places in the tree that are literally, like, the heart attack grill. Where it's like, these are the people that are, like, extremely gluttonous. And it's like, maybe gluttony is, like... I don't know, he started something like this. Maybe he's a part of it. Maybe he's, like a recovering addict. I don't know. But, like, I always wanted this to go around, like, gluttony's backstory of, like literally, like, food eating contests and shit like that. To the point where people get, like... so obese, it's like their mental health has deteriorated because, you know, they basically can't die. So it's like you just get euthanized inside of the tree. So these people are like, you know, like 1,000 pounds at like 35. But they can't die, so they just keep having heart attacks and like brain aneurysms, but they just can't die until their quality of life is diminished so much that either they request euthanasia. We got tree eugenics before GTA 3. True, Eggy, true. And I was thinking about this as like a mystery thing that we could have. Remember when we were talking about the sap of the tree? So I was thinking about the idea of the sap is controlled, like people think that the sap is controlled by the monarch. But the entirety of this, like the sap is like a plumbing system that essentially the monarch created, but no one knows about technology and no one can see the outside of the tube. So everyone thinks the veins that go through the entirety of the tree are natural. But they're actually unnatural, and who the monarch made them. And there's kind of like going to be like a scientific thing to this that people have like a conspiracy, because there's going to be like a conspiracy for fucking everything inside of the tree because people have long enough time to think about it. But geography and trade is mostly outside of the tree, because inside the tree there may be crafting and stuff like that, but all of it comes from the idea from outside of the tree. So before that, they basically had just the plastic material that they used that was their basic, like, UBI.
And there are still usually class distinctions, even if only made for the point of status. In A Song of Ice and Fire, having a Valyrian steel sword, like the Tali sword Heartsbane, is more a signifier of your class than anything else, despite it being unusually good metal. And in discussing this, there is an economic concept called a Veblen good, where demand increases as the price rises, largely due to them being status signifiers, like luxury cars or watches. But they also intersect with power signifiers. Why buy a $1,000 suit when a $100 suit serves the same function? The answer, Veblen said, was power. We mentioned silk as a sign of the imperial family in China, but this was actually legally regulated. Everyone else was forbidden to wear it. Status materials and foods often intersect with legal regulations, often in spite of them becoming cheaper due to trade as a way of maintaining those things as status symbols. They want to maintain their position, so they prevent others from having the things that signify that kind of position. Consider which things are indicators of each high, middle, and lower class status, which things are artificially scarce due to regulation to maintain their status, and which things are Veblen goods and materials that not only high status, but powerful individuals may acquire.
But I think that the biggest misconception about class and status is that all of the classes in a society will have the same values and beliefs and practices and symbols. They don't. Not only do all of the different classes have kind of a micro-culture within themselves, their own distinct identity, but people within a class of a culture don't think the same or act the same or have the same practices. Which is why when you have these stories that have a heavy emphasis on class culture or the struggle between classes, it can be a little bit stilted when all of the lower class people kind of act the same and think the same, and all the middle class people kind of act the same and think the same, and all the upper class people kind of act the same and think the same. When they just kind of don't. There isn't that sort of character unity. While classes do share
universality across all of it.
Great Expectations by Charles Dickens makes a point that gloves are a mark of class in Victorian society. The finer the material, the higher you must be. Classes also culturally differ due to differences in occupation, power, religion, values, and economic pressures. Different political rights for Athenian women as a class led to the festival of Thesmophoria, which became increasingly associated with the lower classes by the last quarter of the 5th century. And men did not attend to this festival. It was a divide in cultural practices by class due to different pressures. Having a steel sword might be a status symbol in the warrior class, but not the craftsman class. if they're semi-equal. The religious divide between the poor that Christianity appealed to in the 1st and 2nd centuries and the Roman rich meant that lower classes valued selflessness in a way that the upper classes didn't, and that they
Hold on, guys. Is that Jesus punching someone in the face? That looks like Jesus punching someone in the face to me. Where you get these pictures, bro?
different things.
That might be Saint Nick. I have no idea. I just thought it was funny because they have the halos, right? So I was like, that's pretty funny. This guy's like clearly like, oh god, what's going on? This guy's like grabbing onto him, like, you want to fight? And these guys are like, uh-oh, what do we do now? Look at the little kid. He's just like, or what? I don't know if that's like a part of this guy's robe or if that's like an actual person. This drawing is fucked up. I love it.
To be morally valuable, depending on how magic and technology.
Don't you find it weird Jesus never laughs? Saint Nick very famously hit Arius at Nicia, however you say that. Ah, that's funny. I love it.
Viewed by different classes, users will hold a different status in each class. Maybe magic users are used by the upper class to oppress the lower classes, so being born a magic user there means everyone kinda hates you. Figure out what values and practices the classes have in common, and then where they differ due to occupational, religious, and economic differences.
People punch people that tell the truth when they don't like it. True, Eggy.
This is where I think that a class structure will really come to shine. It's where it separates it from a very...
People also throw punches when they think they're telling the truth and you won't listen. Arius definitely wasn't telling the truth. It's like the only way to solve this is to punch him in the face because he's clearly pulling a... What's that guy's name? Howard... what the fuck is his name? Who's the guy who thinks 1 times 1 is 2? Terrence Howard. Yeah, 1 times 1. The guy who thinks 1 times 1 equals 2. This is funny because it just says this. This is the proof to the world of science that mathematics that 1 times 1 equals 2. I don't think he knows how to do multiplication. Guys, I don't think he knows how to do fucking multiplication. Okay. I'm gonna show you why 1 times 1 equals 1. So you have 1. How many things do you have? Oh, he's subtracting from a component of one side rather than from the product. He doesn't know order of operations. Yeah. Back to the keyboard. 3 fillets of tilapia with garlic pepper and dill. Nice, Sean. I'm having steak after the stream today. That's the goal. I tried it in the deep fryer because someone said deep fry steak. I put it on too long, though. I put it on for like 3 minutes. I should have put it on for like 1.5 to 2 minutes. It was a little like medium rare. I love it bleeding. But yeah, it's 1 set of 1. This is 1 object. You have 1 object in 1 set. He thinks 1 set is a number in and among itself, but the 1 is actually a component of this. Because this is 2 times 1. 2 groups with 1 thing in them. Or 1 times 2, which is 1 group with 2 things in them. This is 2. This is 2. That's why 1 times 2 and 2 times 1 are both 2. Arius was very correct. When I say rare, I mean to let the beef look at the grill in terror, wipe its butt, and stick it on my plate. True!
Very simple and kind of one-dimensional class structure that we see in some stories from one that has nuance, one that has depth. But also consider the differences in language. Different classes will have different vocabularies. They'll use different...
And this is where Husai's interpretation of seeing things from a third party makes the language appear. Because to everyone, everyone's speaking their own jargon and no one would know. It's like saying Marklar. When you say Marklar, you mean Marklar. How could I Marklar Marklar if you're Marklaring when I Marklar? You Marklar? Sean likes steak. A vet could bring back to life. Ooh, yes. Eggy, yes. If I put it in the toaster, it would come back to life. That is how I want my steak.
Different phrases. They'll speak with even different accents, especially if those classes are geographically...
He just made a great point that I never thought of, guys. Language is one thing. I like mine like an old shoe. Like fucking, like that them there burf jerkin? Burf jerkin? You like them like the burf jerkin? Cause I like them like the burf jerkin too, but I do like them raw too. I like them both ways. Fair, the blood must still be pumping as I cut into it. Exactly! Like you want the adrenaline rushing through their veins as you're cutting it apart. But accents. Accents are actually a very interesting concept that I'm gonna have to actually put some thought into and think about and maneuver around, because there is actually huge like potential for accents. I was raised without an accent. Well, no one, like, you don't have an accent to yourself. You have everyone else has an accent relative to everyone else. Recommend putting beef jerky in Insta noodles if you haven't. Holy shit, Eggy, you just blew my mind. I'm gonna try that, Eggy. I'm gonna fucking try that tomorrow. Okay, guys, tomorrow we are doing a taste test experiment food stream, and I am putting eggs. Sean, I was gonna say, I'm putting eggs, beef jerky, chives, and what's another good thing to put in? I don't have any tofu. You think mushrooms would go well with that? You think mushrooms would ruin that? I'm a huge mushroom fan. Something else weird. If you smash up your favorite chips and use it as seasoning on instant noodles, mushrooms go well with everything. True, Levi. Chives are a great window planter, and they never die. True, Sean. But yeah, accents. We'll have to think about that. Chives are goated. True.
Distinct. If you want a linguistic gap, then come up with a few phrases or speech tropes to mark those differences, and represent those in your characters who come from different classes. And now, like a good oppressive caste system with me at the top, let us divide all of this into 7 classes. Firstly, though wealth, power, and status do correlate, they can still be distributed differently across the class system because they come from different places.
True.
Figure out what your society culturally values for status, materially values for wealth, and the type of political authority for who holds power. Secondly, though they correlate, the distribution of wealth, power, and status is often out of sync as society changes. Consider how societal understandings of
And that's kind of a huge thing, is where we are when we start the story with how people view the world inside of the tree. The entire class system is trying to be either rewritten or destroyed. Very often in anime, there are characters that speak with a Hokkaido to indicate their pores, with a Hokkaido accent. Kind of like having a hillbilly accent. You know, we got them there's the birds, man. We shot them up good. It was a good time. We couldn't come back from doing that. I don't know about Jeff over there. He's got a little bit of that tiger in him, but he can run down the dog just like he knows nothing, you know? Hey, old grandpappy up there do know what's up there for that. Yep. Got no ovens and stoves. We work with no electricity. We don't worry about it. It's all good, brother. We got what we need. Ain't no government gonna come up here and tell us what to do. Fuck that. Yeah, there's a word they sometimes translate as Hicks for it. Exactly, that's what they use in the English dub. The anime Flying Witch is a prime example. I'll have to keep an eye out on that, because I'm terrible with accents. Unless it's like a really heavy accent, I'm fucking terrible. Like, I probably couldn't pick out if you had like 8 different people, like, speaking Japanese with 8 different accents, I probably would, like, unless they were non-native speakers, I probably wouldn't have any idea. But I'm gonna look for that now, when I'm, like, thinking about it. Because I do know some words, and I know conjugation. So, specific conjugation on top of the accent might give me a hint as to when to pay attention to it. If they're a fluent English speaker and you can't place their accent, they're likely from the Pacific Northwest. True.
Define class are changing at the time of your story.
Yes.
And which of these
very
your
important.
class system is mostly based on. Thirdly, consider social mobility in how you acquire wealth, status, and power, especially in how the economy, culture, and politics are changing that may allow people to ascend or descend the class structure. Magic is often a shortcut available to all classes.
Best
Fourthly,
anime
consider what
accent
things
is
make
the
social
very
mobility
bad
easier, like technology and levels of
Japan
education,
English they
and
do.
which things make it harder, like social
Nuke
prejudices
targets
and legal
all
barriers
sound the
to
same
entry.
to me.
This is particularly prominent for untouchable classes. Fifthly, caste systems based on immutable characteristics make social mobility harder, but they don't necessarily have to be oppressive in fictional, alien, or non-human.
So, like...
But they don't necessarily...
Okay. That is a beautiful image. Now imagine something like that, but these things, instead of being like connected like this, they're just like antenna, like a bunch of antenna, like really thick braids of hair, essentially, you know, like kind of like half a centimeter diameter, like braids, essentially, kind of like really thin dreads. Wood, it talks. Yeah. Pacific Northwest accent is the most neutral American accent, I think. So, like, and then imagine kind of like a sucker thing here with, like, pincers. But this is definitely, like, this is insectoid face right here. 100% insectoid face. I fucking love it.
Have to be oppressive in fictional, alien, or non-human societies. Consider how your society might be a mix of class or caste systems, cultural and legal barriers.
Talk's accent is quite neutral. There's only a few words that stand out to me. Mainly it's my lisp. We need more mid-Atlantic accents.
For immutable or mutable characteristics. Sixthly, culture will differ from class to class. The most important determinant is usually wealth, but expensive trade improves the economic diversity of all classes. Consider what Veblen goods are in your society and which things are regulated for status reasons. Seventhly, the biggest misconception about class is that they all share the same values, practices, and status symbol.
I think I've heard you say a boot once or twice, but it's not every time. Like you say book. Like book. Book. We got a book. A boot? What do you mean a boot? It's not about you, bruh. It's in my book. My book tells you it ain't all about me, bruh. We slither and snake through your sizzling, snarky, snide comments, but other than that, we don't know what's going on with you. I mainly notice when you say sorry. Sorry? I don't know. Sorry! Sorry, bro! Sorry.
However, due to religious, occupational, and
I also,
cultural
like,
divides between
don't...
the classes, they will often...
I generally, unless like I'm really trying, I don't enunciate, and I just kind of throw words out. So I'm like, you know, it is what it is. But then there's times where I'm like, okay, exact sentence, right?
see different things as marks of status, morality, and etiquette within their class that may not be the same in other classes.
I'm reminded of that part in Scott Pilgrim where Matthew Patel rhymes and oot with about, and then Scott is confused because it didn't rhyme. When I say sorry, it's sorry. When you say it, it sounds like sorry. Sorry! Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, more mid-Atlantic accents. We need the fast-paced newsreader accent back. No, we need like the speedrunner, the Newfoundland. We need like a boomhauer. If we could get a boomhauer up in here, oh man, that would fucking seal shit.
So, in a shocking
Need me a baddie with a mid-Atlantic and a
twist
sig.
of events, I may have underestimated how complicated class, wealth, and power is, and in my reading, I realized that I was going to need more than one video to discuss it.
True!
I was under the delusion that I could get it all done in half an hour. No. So there's another part coming to this where we're going to discuss how class and caste systems kind of start, which I hinted at in this video, and how they collapse.
I'd
how they
really
change,
prefer
how they
if you'd
break,
be quiet.
how they
I always think of
Only
that
with a
speedrunning
Marxist
play.
revolution, yeah, comrades! Sorry.
Tobacco
The
auctioneer
meme gets
accent.
me every time. It'll be coming in a month or so. The glorious revolution. I mean, sorry, the video. The video will be coming in a month or so. Thank you to patrons, to the people who watch this. You're awesome. This was lots of fun. I'm really looking forward to the next few videos. In the meantime, stay nerdy, and I will see you in the future.
True! Alright guys, we got through the React in 2.5 hours. It's not bad.